Today I'm going to be cooking a dish that is very famous on the Balkan Peninsula. Us Bulgarians are doing it, the Serbs are doing it, and I know also the surrounding countries have very similar dishes. In Bulgaria we call it Banitsa, in Serbia they call it feta, in Turkey they call it burek. So that's what I'm going to make, and I'm gonna show you the very simple, or let's say the fastest way to make one. There will be another video how to make it homemade, completely homemade, because this time I am using a strudel dough, or here as here called it, a strudel teig. Basically very thin sheets of dough which will be containing the filling. So what do we need for this? We need about half a kilo of cheese. It's like a feta cheese, I would say. Half a kilo is about a little bit over a pound, I guess. We will need 4 eggs for that. We'll need a little bit of yogurt, and we need also the strudel dough, which is this one here. There are about, I think, 8 sheets of strudel dough here, but I will show you. So, first things first, let's start with mixing the filling. So what I need, the half kilo of cheese, we put it here. Of course, if you don't like cheese to be a little bit too much, I personally love it, this type of filling, so that's why I'm using about half a kilo, so a pound about it. You can put a little bit less. So again, keep in mind that's not mozzarella, it's not Gouda cheese, that's like something like the feta cheese. It's just white cheese in some brine. So you break it down. Don't need salt for this because the cheese is salty enough. Well, if you're a salty person, I guess you might put some salt, but I personally don't think that's a good idea. Good, so cheese is broken down. Then you need to put the eggs in. One thing that I would advise you to do is one of the yolks, keep it aside. You need to mix it a little bit with the yogurt. Oops, of course I completely forgot to do that, even though I said that I should do it. So I'm just taking out one of the yolks. I'm gonna put it aside into 1 cup. Okay. Good. I will need to move the camera just a little bit because I need to get the yogurt. The thing is, the yogurt box, it fits perfectly on my tripod to make it a little bit higher. So that's the first part, that I'll put a little bit of yogurt inside. It's just literally I'm eyeing it. It's not something that is a precise science. But I'll need to put some yogurt on top of it when it's ready, for the sole reason that if you put it without any covering, it will be too dry. It will be much too crispy. One thing that I remembered, which I forgot to mention, you need to put some baking powder. Usually 1 package is enough. This one is a little bit less, but it's enough just to make it a little bit bigger. And one more thing, again, eyeing it, put a little bit of oil. Good. So I'll start mixing. See you in a moment. Okay, after the mixing, it should look like that. That's the consistency. And the next thing that you will need is you need the sheets for the strudel dough, or strudel teig, what we call it here. So the first two. So normally there are a few different ways of doing it. I personally like to fill them and roll them literally like like a strudel. Usually people put some oil or some water in it. I personally put the oil inside the mixture, and because I can't be bothered to just oil the whole sheet, so I just put it inside, and I think that works pretty well. So you get some of the filling, and when you think it's enough for the filling, then you'll roll it and you will put it inside the pan, the baking pan. Good. I think that's about enough, I guess. You get it, you make a small roll. I usually start from the center and then I roll it outwards. Should not be very tight. For a moment, let me just move it shortly here. It should not be very tight, because if it's very tight in between the rolls, it might not bake evenly. So leave just some space in between, especially with the first one. That's very easy to make it really tight. So careful about that. Okay, I'll continue with the next ones and I'll give some more inputs once we are done. One thing about rolling them, you don't really need to make them too tight on the roll, because then it won't have room to expand. Just leave some space, you can just roll it, that's it. Additionally, try to do also the edges, put some stuff on the edges, mostly because the edges overlap with the other rolls, and would be a good idea to have something inside so that it's not just dry dough. I mean, it's still delicious, but okay, so that's the last one. Let me show you what is the density in between the rolls. So really not that tight. You can see here there's a hole, here there's some hole, there's a hole. So don't really compress them, otherwise it will not bake that well. Okay, so for the next part, this is the finishing basically touches before the bake. I have my yoke over here, so I will need to move again the camera a little bit. Probably I shouldn't have used it here, but never mind. So I need to put additionally to the yolk a little bit of the yogurt here as well. Not much. It's like 2 spoonfuls, I guess. You just mix it well. Okay, that should be enough, I guess. So let me put the camera back on the yogurt. And what you do here, so should be a little bit liquidy, I guess, and then you just pour it. You can use a brush to spread it around. Sometimes I use a brush, sometimes I use my finger, depending on my mood. but I do recommend that you brush all parts of the Banitsa so that they're kind of moist and they don't get dry too quickly. I mean, it's like afterwards it's like a dough chips, but I prefer them when we have this. Okay, so that's about it, I guess. One additional thing that I usually do when I make my own sheets of dough, when you make it on your own, the sheets of dough, they're not really that dry, so I personally like to put a little bit of butter on top of them, so I will do that now. It's not really necessary in this particular case, but who doesn't like butter? So in that sense, I'll just put a few slices of butter just because butter. So there's my butter. Literally it's just a little bit, mostly for your head, that there's actually butter in there. Not really that it makes too much difference, but I personally find it the smell overwhelmingly good. And yeah, in general, butter. So a little bit more here, and then a last slice, or a few slices here. Okay, that should be enough, I guess. Let's split it a little bit here. And the next step, my oven is still heating, so I'll put it there in a second, I guess. And the next time I will see you is when it's ready. Just a little bit information for the oven. I preheated to 200 degrees Celsius. I guess that's about, yeah, I'll check it and I'll leave it down how much that's in Fahrenheit. I put it on the lower level of the oven for about 35 to 45 minutes, depends on the oven and how much filling is inside there. So yeah, that's about it. Actually, my oven's ready. Let me turn it a little bit to the side. I have one of these rolling out ovens. You put it in and then off it goes. Well, in using the magic of the cinema, I will see you in just a second. It is ready and I'm gonna take it out now. Oh. And there we go. That's about it. That's how it looks. And if you give a close-up, until very recently there was some bubbles boiling, you can see. That's more or less the color that you're aiming for. As I said, about 40 minutes, I guess. And yeah, smells absolutely delicious, and my kids are lined up because they want a slice of it. Isn't that right, kids?
Yes!
Okay. And there, that's how the slice looks. Okay, I'm salivating. So, I'm going to eat some banitsa, the kids too. So, see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.